Has Nirvana struck twice? I've just taken delivery of the new Panasonic G X lens, the 35 to 100 f2.8 constant aperture OIS zoom lens. As you can see, this is a small lens. It's very lightweight, matches the GH2 very nicely, and probably will look great on the GH3. The lens shade comes with the camera, and so does the case and the cap, which is a nice thing that Panasonic does, unlike some of their competitors. And I'm going to zoom right now. As you can see, the lens does not move as I'm zooming. What's happening is it's internally zooming. It internally focuses as well. As you can see here, I have 4 deer in my front yard. This is the new Panasonic X lens, the 35 to 100 f2.8 OIS. And I am hand holding it with a GH2, shooting at f2.8 wide open. ISO is 160. And I'm able to refocus just by holding down the shutter button on the GH2. That is generally how I refocus. I don't leave the autofocus on continuously, just spot autofocus as I would call it. But this is at full telephoto, 100 millimeters, f2.8. As I say, I've just checked focus. And this gives you an example of what it's like to shoot handheld without a rig, and how decent the image stabilization is, and the ability to refocus very quickly when panning over to another deer. And of course, as you can see, there's no change in exposure when I zoom, because this is a constant aperture f2.8. Here I go again, changing focus and aperture. But if you noticed, when I zoom in, let me focus, watch when I zoom out, it should keep focus. And it looks like it is, according to my viewfinder. It seems to be keeping focus quite well as I zoom, and keeping exposure as I zoom. Here's manually focusing. Again, we're at f2.8. This lens is very small and lightweight. Surprisingly small and lightweight. I'm quite impressed with it overall. The sharpness seems very good, and I like how quickly it focuses. I had little ones over in the front yard, and it looks like the other ones are going to be joining them, or her. It's nice being able to zoom. With the variable aperture zooms, you always see a brightness change. But with this lens, there isn't any brightness change when I zoom in or when I refocus. Okay, now I have stopped the lens down to 5.6. And I definitely have more depth of field. I bumped the ISO up to 640 in order to do so. This is f10 at 1600 ISO. Just to give you an example of what that looks like. having that much depth of field, especially if I zoom out. Alright, this is at 35 millimeters at f10. And I'm zooming in so the flowers are in focus. As you can see, even at f10, the deer are not in focus. Okay, here are the same flowers with the deer behind them at f2.8 at ISO 160. As you can see, they're totally out of focus. And now I'm focusing on the deer. And you can see how out of focus the flowers are now. And now we'll go back to the flowers. But the deer are done with my lawn today, so they're heading next door. Right now I'm at 35 millimeters. And the depth of field would be very similar to the 12 to 35 at 35 millimeters. When I zoom the lens in, you'll notice that the depth of field is reduced because of the longer focal length. As you can see, if you're doing a fairly close interview, you get nice low depth of field behind the interview. As you can see, this is a very nice lens. So far I'm very pleased with it, and I plan on using it for most of my interview shooting. I like this focal length for the interview because right now I'm probably about 6 feet away from the camera. With the 12 to 35, you really need to be closer to fill the frame. And as you saw before, I can be a little farther back and still have a nice shot. Overall, I think Panasonic has a winner here, and I am very pleased with the lens. Take a look at my other reviews at frugalfilmmakers.com.